I was just walking through the store just probably an hour ago, and I got the gist of what was going on in the world. And you know, it's something every day, isn't it? And I don't know if you're aware of what's going on. And I happened to share that with my son, Dr. Jordan, who's been speaking, and he says, "Man, how do you do something after you hear news like that?" And I understand what he's saying. And if you're not moved by the events that happened, but it's a really sick world out there. I don't know where all that sickness comes from, but I know people that that sometimes when their food's wrong, they'll think wrong, you know, and even to the point of that, a friend of mine that does nutritional work would say when they were on bad carbs, they would be people that would hear voices until they got their diet straightened out. So you don't think about this, but the way God made us, we're body, soul, and spirit, and it doesn't get separated. It all works together. And so when we think about our bodies and the things that affect it, certainly we think of the body work that we do, I mean, because that's where we are, but your foods, and foods can sometimes be foods that heal and foods that kill, but there's toxins that sometimes can affect us, and many times chemistry in our foods can affect us. I should put a link to this, but there is a TED Talk that we've listened to, and I think we posted it on our website, and it's a 7-year-old boy who wants to commit suicide. His mom's a neurologist, and so they go through this long thing, and they're trying to find help. And you know, as often is the case, sometimes we have to find it another way. You know, they're looking for help and they're not finding it. And this lady starts finding, she starts doing her own work, and she finds that there's dyes in the food that are affecting the behavior. And so yellow dye would have one behavior, and that was one big thing. So this 7-year-old, he starts having to learn how to read labels, can you imagine? But he feels better when he's not on those foods. And blue dyes had it. And in this talk, you can see every dye created a different behavior in that boy. Now I'm just saying that's one person that figured it out. But how many don't figure it out? That are looking for an answer. And sometimes it's that close. You know, sometimes the answers are right in your kitchen. And some of the foods, you think about this. This is hard. We want to be very inclusive tonight. I want to draw circles that bring us together, not to exclude us. But, you know, there's things that are given us that, if you think about this, that we have been hacked. There's a guy named Lustig. He's got a mile-long degrees. He wrote the book, The Hacking of the American Mind. And it just talks about how the commercialism of food started affecting people's behaviors. And it's a very fascinating read. But anyways, if you think about this, that 80% of our food supply would be illegal in 40 other nations. But we can't even get people to agree to put it on the label. They don't even want it to be labeled on your foods to let you know that this is a genetically modified. And I know you get people that are upset by that idea, but there's something that's changing in our world. In the news today, in the news last weekend, and every day this gross stuff that's happening is a sign there's something going on. It's not right. And so my call to all of us is a call to action to be the change, right? We got to figure out, we got to be light. Listen, how many are parents? How many are grandparents? We got to live a life with hope, that there's got to be a hope out there for us, right? We can't fall into cynicism. You know, there was they had this thing figured out years ago. I think it was back 30s, 40s. You get into guys like Weston Price and Pottinger and Price. He was a dentist. He traveled the world and studied people's diets. And the funny thing, you can still see this today, that people around the world, they want the American diet, you know, and they think if they could just eat like Americans, and when they eat like Americans, they get the American diseases. Isn't that funny? But when Weston Price went around the world, and it's a fascinating book, if nothing other than the pictures, because you'll see pictures of people whose bone face structures actually change as their diet changes. And twins that will look radically different when they start adopting the American diet. They call it the SAD diet, the Standard American Diet. It's kind of an interesting acronym, isn't it?
It fits.
So, and there's another guy that back in that time frame, Dr. Pottinger, did experiments with cats, and they started feeding them processed foods and cooked foods, And within about 3 generations, they would not produce again. And their fur and their agility, all this started changing within very quickly and generate. And another funny aspect of that is that as these things started changing in their diet, even their pens didn't grow weeds or anything. They killed everything wherever they went, where sometimes you fertilize that material and it grows. No, this didn't do it. It actually sterilized that stuff. But just the power of our diets and how it happens so fast that even Dr. Royal Lee, these people were they're still geniuses today, years later, but he was saying we're having genetic changes even within our generation. We're not waiting generations to see it. We're starting to see genetic changes happening in people. There was a guy, he's not here tonight, it would be fun if he was, but he came in and he was in a lot of pain in his body. And one of my staff, Renee, got on him about checking his diet, and it turned out he ate 6 donuts for his breakfast. And she said, well, she said, that's very inflammatory to your body. All right. And so he said, no, I didn't know that. And so anyways, the funny talking about cats, and all right, he's talking about this cat and how cats are with the Pottingers. But so he shows this video, and I think we posted it one time, but he's laying on his recliner with his cat there, and he's ready to eat his donut, and he asks his cat, should I eat this donut? And the cat very clearly shook its head no. And then he asked the cat, should I go see Dr. Hutsell today? And the cat shook his head yes. And I said, that's just the way it is. We got to listen to those. They're leaving a story for us. So anyways, sound check, kind of this and that right now, but I just want to have a minute of silence for the terrible things that are happening, and I just want to bring us together as co-creators to bring, as on earth, so as it is in earth, as in heaven, that we just start bringing a little bit of heaven to us a little bit, that we be the change, we be the light, the warmth, and we bring hope to people. So we'd just like to open in just a little prayer, and then we'll get on with it. But maybe just a few seconds of silence just to remember some of these things, and just pray for people that are very much in a lot of hurt tonight. Well, Father, I just would thank you for people that have showed up, that want to make a difference, that want to learn, want to expand. That's, of course, one of our values. We just pray that our hearts would be alert, our minds would be receptive, and that you would just let us leave in a different way, that we can be empowered, and we can encourage one another, and we can make a difference in this world, that we can start thinking for a better future. We can grab forward that you are out there and you're leading us and guiding us, and we just pray tonight that our hearts would be just ready to receive from Dr. Jordan, Dr. Frisch. We thank you for them coming all these miles, and hope that we just can encourage, and only you can do that, Lord. Help those that are in great hurt and distress, and Lord, help us to try to be the change that we want to see and be the answer to some of these things. In Jesus' name. Well, it's just awesome to see you. We are definitely co-laborers. We learn from each other. We work together. It's been just a fascinating thing to be able to work with my own son the last 2 months, and then the last 8 years, just this idea of this him being able to work with us. And I just tell you that in the last years that we've been able to be together and share classes, my daughter too will be graduating in December. I'll tell you, there's just nothing better than growing together.